All right. Very good. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us to discuss UIC, the University of Illinois Chicago, and UIC Global. We have a great session planned for you where we're going to start with just a general overview of UIC and some of the many benefits of UIC and UIC Global for undergraduate students from Brazil. But also the star of the show is going to be one of our students, Diogo, who's going to be the second half of today's session, talking about his time as a student and what that means for him. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get started. So with that, I'm just going to play a short video clip that starts off as an introduction so that you can get a feel for the connection between Chicago and UIC. And I don't know why it's not. And as that, video highlights for us, Chicago, or UIC, really is located in the heart of Chicago. Students attending UIC are in the middle of the city, in the middle of, the US's third largest city, in the heart of the Midwest's largest urban area. And they really do get to experience an urban campus. Students not only have access to all the resources that come with being on a university campus, but also access to experiencing so many other events that tie into their college career throughout the city of Chicago. As you can see from the map here, we have UIC's East Campus here in red, and that is very close to the Chicago downtown area that we affectionately call the Loop. And now the Loop is where you see most of these skyscrapers in the top picture. That's where most of those are located. That is our central business district and is the heart of downtown. Students have an opportunity to visit the Loop on a regular basis. It's only 10 minutes by Blue Line, this blue line here that goes across the top of campus and then out at a diagonal. Students can take the Blue Line for free as part of their Chicago Transit Authority public access. I think it's called the U-Pass. Yeah, it's the U-Pass. And the students use that to access anywhere in the city that they wish to go, free of charge. So students can go downtown and make a connection with local businessmen or local engineering societies if they're looking for mentorships or internships. If they want to go have fun, the Art Institute of Chicago, one of the world's most famous art museums, is just a few steps away by public transit. If they want to go shopping, they can visit the Magnificent Mile. If students want to explore some of Chicago's more cultural and urban neighborhoods, they can do that. They can really go anywhere and explore anywhere in the city and tie that into their university undergraduate experience. And that's what we really want our students to do. You'll see that the blue line there goes out at a diagonal. It actually connects students directly to Chicago O'Hare International Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, where students can also travel to return home. They can travel to other countries and other US destinations And they have all of that at their fingertips, just right here in the middle of the city. We want to take a minute to highlight some of UIC by the numbers and some of the rankings. I'm not going to discuss every single ranking that's listed here, but I wanted to highlight a couple of them for you. The most important ones that I want to highlight for you are the ones that show UIC's prominence as a best value college. So every year, the Wall Street Journal, one of the most prominent business media newspapers in the United States, and the Times Higher Education, one of the most important media publications in international education, join forces and they create a best value colleges ranking of US colleges and universities in terms of the resources provided to students based on the amount of tuition dollars paid to the university. So what they examine is student satisfaction on the amount of resources provided to them as students for the amount of money that is paid. And this year, just like the year before, UIC was in the top 10. That's the same grouping as Harvard, University of Michigan, some other very prestigious universities in the United States. We're really proud of this, and you'll see more of this discussion as we go through this session, because we really pride ourselves at UIC on helping students set up for future success. We really want students to have future career goals and meet those and have a successful professional career and economic prosperity after they graduate. You'll also see that in a different publication, it was also noted as a best bang for the buck, which is another way of saying best value college. But Washington Monthly is another publication where UIC scored very highly on this. We're also, in the top 112 national universities, one of the best public universities in the US, and one of the most diverse. Our students come from all across the world, and our student diversity makes it really feel like you are on an urban international campus as soon as you step foot at UIC. We have over 80 different undergraduate majors to offer students in various colleges. There are 16 total colleges at UIC. Not all of them offer undergraduate degrees, but a good majority of them do. And we've highlighted all of those undergraduate degree offerings here. So if you're interested, you can take a screenshot or take a look at what's offered. I just want to highlight a couple of them for you. One of them being in the College of Architecture, Design, and the Arts. Architecture is a very prominent undergraduate major at UIC. Chicago is, the birthplace of the skyscraper, the really tall buildings, and is really the sort of at the forefront of a lot of things that happen in the architecture profession. Students not only learn in the classroom through architectural theory, but many of their professors will be practicing architects who are licensed and current architects at some of the major global architectural firms located here in Chicago. In addition, we have several degree offerings in the College of Business Administration, but I wanted to pick one related to information and decision science. That's because within the university, this is the major where the most students transfer or change their major after starting their degree at UIC. So they may come in as management or accounting or finance and realize that they want information and decision science. Information and decision science is UIC's way of saying information technology. Those concentrations related to that field, whether it's business analytics, management information systems, or logistics, operations, and supply chain management. This is the undergraduate degree for those students who are looking for those types of degrees. We offer all different types of majors in engineering, but I wanted to take a minute to highlight data science, which is going to be a brand new major at UIC. Students won't be able to choose that major for their application for fall, but they can certainly change into that major after they start their degree. And it's going to be really at the, sort of intersection of business and engineering, and provide students the opportunity for a cutting edge world-class degree in one of the fields that's, rapidly rising as a top profession with excuse me, with high-ranking income potential after graduation. Also, we have several degrees in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. I highlighted biological sciences because it's the #1 major for international students at UIC, and psychology because it's the #1 overall major. A lot of this has to do with UIC's position as a top medical and health professions school in the Midwest and in the state of Illinois. And our students choose biology and psychology often because they're thinking about later on becoming a doctor or an optometrist or a dentist or a pharmacist. And so these are really degrees that can help set them up for those fields. One of our colleges has a very unique opportunity. So all of our colleges help students with internships, but one college, the College of Engineering, has an opportunity for students to have a paid internship, a paid research internship with faculty after their first year as a degree-seeking student at UIC. You must have a GPA of 3.2 or a B+ average, and you have to have completed certain math requirements and credit hours, but you do have that opportunity. Highlighted here, Angie from Indonesia, who had the opportunity to do this during COVID-19, working on, personal protective equipment and the plastic shields that you see in certain offices. UIC has worked on that. The engineering team worked on that for how they can put those in different UIC buildings and offices at UIC. And she was working with faculty members and professors who were working on that research. Career services at UIC, as we talked about, students really do need to be set up for future professional success, and we take that very seriously. For international students, that's a focus on an international alumni career panel every November, where students have the opportunity to hear from former international students who are now working in their field, most of them in the United States. And in March, the International Student Career Week, where students have a week of events that helps them with resume preparation, cover letters, and writing a cover letter for a job or an internship application workshops. And then when you're finishing your degree, you have in the US what's called optional practical training, or OPT, where students have the opportunity to discuss their future work while on their student visa. Over 300 companies recruit at UIC, and this is not an all-encompassing list of those, but just know that these are some of the companies recruiting at UIC that you should be aware of, including Apple. You'll see Google. You'll see some other top firms here. If you're interested in business, the top 4 accounting, the big 4 accounting firms, as well as others. And this is an opportunity for students. These are not just companies in Chicago that students can go to. These are companies that are coming to UIC, talking to our students about internships and their first jobs after graduation. This includes international students, and we do a lot of work with career preparation and services to set students up for that. I want to switch gears a little bit, and our managing director of UIC Global, Callie Heifetz, is with us. And Callie's going to talk to you a little bit about UIC Global support for getting students involved on campus and why that's important, and student organizations. Callie?
Thank you, Marshall. Thank you so much for joining our call today. I'm very excited to be on this call with all of you. As Marshall said, my name is Callie Heifetz, and I started up this partnership with UIC in 2016, where we brought 38 students for our first cohort in spring of 2017. And this fall, we're hoping to welcome 300 students, undergraduate students, and close to 100 graduate students to UIC, most of which will be in person. So it's going to be a very, very exciting fall. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But in terms of student-led organizations, we find that it's very important not only to solely focus on your academics, in which, again, that is the most important reason why you are here, but to become a well-rounded student and individual at UIC for your 4 years, it's very important to also join some student organizations where you get to meet other students from other countries or other students from different states or from other parts of Chicago, and talk about your main interests. A lot of UIC global students came to Chicago and found that they didn't have any organizations that they really were passionate about, such as the Pakistani Student Association or the International Student Association, or the Albanian American Student Organization, which are organizations that were set up by UIC global students. It's very easy to get involved on campus with over 33,000 students on campus. And in the fall, again, the chancellor of UIC is committing to having most classes in person. It will be an exciting time to get to know your fellow classmates and other avenues other than just in the classroom. Marshall, if you can go to the next slide.
Yeah, if you can. So one of the questions we get a lot from parents is a discussion around campus safety. And being in the heart of Chicago, I'm sure in a large city like Chicago is, there's some questions around safety on campus. Yeah. Can you speak a little bit about campus safety and what UIC does to help protect students?
Well, something that UIC Global does during orientation for students and also for parents that attend in person, and we'll probably do it virtually as well, is we have actually public safety come and do a presentation. It's very important to be knowledgeable about what resources you have as a student available to you at UIC, and there are many. The first would be this UIC Safe app, which is wonderful. Everything at your fingertips. You can request a night ride or an escort to take you from one location to another location on campus. If it's late at night or you're by yourself and you are afraid to walk by yourself, you have access to a escort or a car that will come and pick you up from any location, library or such. Yep. The second thing is that throughout campus, there are these blue lights that if you are afraid or there's something going on, you can always press that blue light. It's throughout campus, and public safety will come and see you very, very quickly. UIC is not only looked after by our UIC Police Department, but it's also looked after by the Chicago State Police. So there are two different organizations that are looking over our students at UIC. Due to COVID, we've had to change a few things. So when you're going to class, normally you will have to now swipe in to make sure that you are safe to attend. And that is also true with the dormitories as well. So a lot less individuals can come in to your dormitory or into your classroom space due to the fact that they are now asking to swipe. There's police presence and public safety presence throughout the university, and it is a very safe location to be. Granted, Chicago is a city, it's a very large city, and we also talk to students during orientation about where to go and where not to go, and who to go with and who not to go with. So it's very, very important that you follow our advice and our direction in terms of safety on campus and throughout the city of Chicago.
Yeah, and that's great, important detail for, especially for students and parents. The COVID-19 situation at UIC. So I know that people probably have a lot of questions about that. We understand the situation with the visa availability in Brazil currently. And you mentioned just a few minutes ago the chancellor making a commitment to in-person classes.
Yeah.
But if students can't come to campus, is there going to be an opportunity for them to just start their degree as there has been in the past?
Yeah, that's a great question, Marshall. And I know a lot of students on this call are really interested in hearing the answer. I do have very good news to say, and that is that UIC is committed to having in-person instruction in the fall. There are different ways that will happen, but they're also committed to opening the doors to all students that are qualified and interested in coming to UIC and being successful. And by that, I mean that students will be able to study virtually in the fall semester and be, an active status registered student at UIC. So if you cannot come to campus and be welcomed by myself and by my team, Marshall, I know will be there, even though sometimes he's not, but he will be there, I know, during orientation to welcome you. If you cannot be here in person, you can still study virtually. We have had a very interesting year, to say the least. And we've had many students being successful studying virtually. And it's not our first time doing it virtually. So the university has learned and has done a very good job in trying to teach the best way. The faculty have done a lot of training in teaching virtually. And we will find that if you cannot come to campus, you will be able to do that virtually. There may be another option. So I would keep your ears open to a possible second option for UIC for the fall. But currently right now, we would love to have you in person. I would love to meet you in person. But if you cannot come in person, we understand. And UIC is committed to accepting and welcoming any and every student that cannot come here virtually. Talking a little bit about currently what we're doing in terms of hybrid and in-person classes. Currently, we do have several students that are on campus. Now, I'm going to jump around a little bit because I think it's very important to note that I have spoken to most of my students that live on campus, and I would say about 75 to 80% of those students have had at least their first dose of vaccine, if not both doses of vaccine, and are fully vaccinated. That is very, very exciting to hear. UIC is very committed in vaccinating each and every one of their students, international students included. So if you do, if everything opens up and we can get you to campus in the fall, please be rest assured. And if I do have parents on the call, I understand. I am a mother of two as well. We will work very hard with the university to get each and every international student, give them the opportunity that any other domestic student would have on campus. And that would be getting their vaccine. UIC is committed to helping all students do that. And we're seeing that currently right now. So it's very, very exciting. What you will find in Chicago is that we're going to reach herd immunity very, very quickly. We are vaccinating many, many people. I actually, myself, I'm going tomorrow for my second vaccine. Marshall got his yesterday or the day before. Yeah, so we are all getting vaccinated as well so that we can get ready to meet our students, if not in the fall, then in the spring semester. With herd immunity comes a lot of wonderful things that will be releasing some of the restrictions that we've had in Chicago. We're hoping that we're going to have a wonderful summer. Fall is a beautiful time in Chicago as well. So we're hoping we're going to have a wonderful fall as well. So if you can, and if it does open up for you, we would love to have you on campus, but we'll look at you. We'll definitely work with you virtually as well.
Yeah. And, as a good example of that, at the beginning of the fall semester, the dining hall was completely takeout meals only. At this point, they do have limited in-person dining in the dining halls. The residence hall has some limited visitation requirements. They are allowing some limited visitors now, but we take COVID-19 very seriously, with contact tracing and students being regularly tested, as well as Callie pointed out, vaccinations. So
Yeah.
that's some great information.
Right. One last thing regarding COVID testing, because again, I don't know if there are any parents on the call, but students may be interested as well. COVID testing is very easily accessible at UIC. It's free. It's free with our medical insurance if you are on campus. So if you're living in the residence hall, you do need to get tested once a week to make sure that you do not have COVID. For everyone to be safe on campus. That will also be true once we have classes in person as well. Students will have to test and make sure that they're not, they don't have COVID before attending class.
And with that, we want to turn it over to a current UIC Global student who's studying virtually this year. So he probably will talk a little bit about that as well, Diogo. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let him take it away and tell us a little bit more about his study at UIC. Diogo, it's over to you.
Só um minutinho. Oi, tudo bem? Meu nome é Diogo e hoje eu vou estar falando um pouquinho para vocês sobre minha experiência com a UIC. Mas antes eu vou estar falando um pouquinho sobre mim. Eu sou estudante na UIC. Eu vou me formar em 2024. Eu comecei meu curso em agosto de 2020. Me formei em dezembro de 2019. Foi mais ou menos quando eu comecei minha aplicação. Durante esse tempo vago, eu trabalhei, porque a faculdade acaba perguntando para vocês o que vocês fizeram nesse tempo vago entre se formar no ensino médio e entrar na faculdade. Eu trabalhei porque era bom eu fazer alguma coisa, entendeu? Aí, o porquê que eu escolhi a UIC? A UIC, ela está nos top 15 das melhores faculdades para o programa de negócios, que no caso é a minha área. Eu estou fazendo administração com especialização em RI, que é Relações Internacionais. Ela é a maior universidade em Chicago, e como o Marshall falou, fica bem no centro de Chicago. Ela tem cerca de 33 mil estudantes de 100 países diferentes, sendo mais ou menos, se eu não me engano, são aproximadamente 4 mil estudantes internacionais. Isso, para mim, é muito bom, porque eu adoro conhecer outras culturas e você acaba tendo muito contato com pessoas de outros países. Sendo que Chicago também é um dos grandes polos econômicos dos Estados Unidos. Então, para mim, que a minha área é negócios, foi muito bom. Também por causa da UIC Global, que é o programa que o Marshall apresentou, que eles dão um suporte imenso. Agora, aqui o Marshall já mostrou no mapa, mas eu coloquei um mapa também para vocês verem como é no centro a UIC. E eu vou falar um pouquinho da UIC Global para vocês. Eles preparam a gente através de uma orientação antes das aulas, para a gente já ter uma noção de como que usa o sistema, tudo, já saber o que esperar. E eles cobrem tudo certinho e dão um grande apoio também durante o curso. Eles te acompanham, mandam um e-mail, sua nota cai, eles ficam de olho em você. Isso é mais durante os primeiros 6 meses, que a gente acaba tendo até aulas especiais só para os alunos internacionais da UIC Global. Mas eles te acompanham durante o primeiro ano inteiro, só que no segundo semestre você já está mais solto, sabe? Eu estou no programa de Business, aí eu vou falar um pouquinho dele. No programa de Business, a gente tem o Business Scholars e o Honors. Tanto os dois, você precisa ter uma média entre B e A, que eles requerem um GPA bem alto, mas eles trazem também muitas oportunidades, como palestras, você tem aula só com turmas com notas mais altas, então eles acreditam que o desenvolvimento acaba sendo muito maior. No programa de Business também, a gente tem palestras semanais no site da UIC Business e eventos também. Geralmente é diariamente, mas algumas semanas acabam não tendo todos os dias. Eles dão um grande apoio com estágios, eles têm programas que te ajudam a utilizar o LinkedIn, tanto criar um perfil, quanto entrar em contato com as pessoas, como falar com empresas maiores, representantes. Você até entra em contato com pessoas que já se formaram da sua faculdade e que querem trazer o exemplo deles de como eles conseguiram utilizar as habilidades que eles aprenderam na UIC no trabalho deles agora. Também tem grupos que discutem carreiras, durante aulas também a gente tem vídeos que falam de pessoas que já se formaram nas profissões que a UIC Business proporciona, que é finanças, contabilidade, administração, essa parte mais de negócios. Tem uma grande variedade de aulas. Você pode fazer aulas não só para business, mas você pode fazer toda a escolha de aulas que eles têm, você pode participar. A única coisa é que para você se formar numa matéria, você tem que cumprir todos os requerimentos. Tudo que você fizer a mais é mais por você mesmo. Aí a gente tem os cohorts, que são grupos de alunos, geralmente com um administrador, que se ajudam, fazem eventos, têm reuniões toda semana, conversam sobre as aulas, como é que está indo, fazem tarefas juntos, é bem legal. É mais para os alunos de business mesmo. Aí a UIC tem uma comunidade internacional muito grande, como eu falei, aproximadamente 4.000 alunos. Eles dão um ótimo apoio a alunos internacionais através tanto de e-mail, quanto eles têm um próprio escritório que você pode ir lá conversar se tiver algum problema, tudo. Durante a orientação que o Marshall vai passar, se vocês entrarem nesse curso também, eles vão dar um apoio gigantesco, te mostrar onde que você vai caso você precise de algo. E por conta de ser tanto aluno internacional assim, tem uma mistura de culturas imensa, então você vai aprender muito. Por exemplo, eu já fiz uma amizade com uma garota do Quirguistão. A gente faz tarefa junto, se ajuda, pá. Eu nem sabia que esse país existia até eu entrar na UIC. Aí eu acabei fazendo amizade, já tenho amizade com pessoas ao redor do mundo inteiro. Fora que eles têm a UIC Internacional tem uma comunidade no YouTube também, no YouTube não, no Facebook, perdão, que você pode encontrar alunos da UIC de Chicago, quanto de outros estados, quanto do mundo inteiro. E foi assim que eu também fiz muitas amizades. Aí eu vou falar um pouquinho da minha experiência também. Eu tive ótimos professores, desde o início, que deram um apoio enorme para alunos internacionais, que no primeiro semestre a gente teve aulas especializadas para alunos internacionais, que é para dar um apoio maior, mas eu só tive professores ótimos, respondem e-mails, dão um apoio, entendem que às vezes tem um pouco da dificuldade do inglês. Como eu falei da variedade de aulas antes, semestre passado eu fiz aula de russo. Não entrava no meu currículo, mas eu queria matar a curiosidade. Eu ia continuar esse semestre, mas acabou sendo um pouco mais difícil do que eu imaginava. Eles se adaptaram bem à pandemia. Eles têm um site chamado Blackboard, que traz várias possibilidades. É lá que eu faço todas as minhas aulas, tudo. Eles utilizam o Zoom também. Eles têm parceria com várias empresas grandes. Através do meu login do site da UIC, eu consigo acessar várias bibliotecas virtuais, consigo ter acesso ao Office de graça, todos os recursos do Google, entre várias outras coisas. Para mim, o fuso horário foi bom, porque eu não cheguei a conseguir ir ao campus, eu estou fazendo virtualmente. Para mim, o fuso horário foi bom, porque durante o horário de verão era 33 horas à frente, agora são apenas 2. Mas aí dá um tempinho a mais para mim fazer a tarefa, além de que eu prefiro fazer a tarefa mais no final da noite. Eu sou uma pessoa que estudo de noite, geralmente. Então, para mim, ter aulas de tarde, que seria de manhã, foi melhor. E tem vários clubes também, vários clubes, tudo que você possa imaginar. Se não tiver, você pode entrar também com uma requisição para montar um clube, mas eu acabei entrando no clube de improvisação, que na realidade é mais para o pessoal de teatro, não tem muito a ver com minha profissão, porém ajuda muito com a fala em questão de dar palestras, essas coisas que é muito importante para a minha profissão, então eu acabei entrando. Novamente as amizades. Aí eu vou falar um pouquinho do porquê que eu quis estudar fora do Brasil. Como eu disse antes, eu sempre tive essa curiosidade por novas culturas, conhecer novas coisas. Aí eu já sabia que eu não queria ficar no Brasil. Aí fora que estudar nos Estados Unidos traz várias oportunidades de emprego para multinacionais, tem muitas novas oportunidades que aqui no Brasil eu não teria. Fora que é um crescimento individual também. Sair da minha zona de conforto é bom porque me ajuda a amadurecer e eu consigo crescer individualmente. Como eu me preparei para as provas e para a aplicação, você vai precisar administrar muito bem seu tempo, porque se você fizer como eu e sair direto do ensino médio para a faculdade, você vai ter que fazer suas provas do SAT, do ACT, tudo durante o ensino médio. Então, você vai ter que saber alternar quando estudar para o ensino médio e quando estudar para essas provas. Eu fiz bastante simulado, me ajudou bastante. O pessoal daqui para fora, eles oferecem livros cheios de simulados que foram ótimos, porque a matéria não muda muito de ano para ano, muda mais mesmo os exercícios. E, sério, não tem como procrastinar. Procrastinar foi um dos meus maiores erros e eu acabei entregando as coisas muito, acabando de última hora e foi correria. Um estresse que não tem necessidade, procrastinar não é uma boa ideia. Agora eu vou abrir um espaço para perguntas, que eu vou convidar o Marshall também, podem mandar em inglês e português. E aqui embaixo é meu Insta, caso alguém queira fazer alguma pergunta depois também. Marshall, time for questions.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. So we had a couple of questions, and I will answer the first one live from Laura and Victoria Komar. And it says, can we double major? So the answer to that depends actually on your program. So the majority of students can double major. Business students can double major. I don't know, Diogo, if you plan on double majoring or not, but you can. Engineering students can double major. If you're interested in architecture or design, you don't actually have the opportunity to double major because your courses are so prescribed to meet your criteria that you probably will need to you'll probably need to just complete that major, but there are ways that you can add an additional year and get a second degree. So, but that's for architecture and design specifically. For students interested in most fields, double major is a possibility. I actually know a student who did a triple major. Now that is a little bit too much for me, but if you have the academic spirit, you might want to try that as well. So there's a question around the acceptance rate. So I'm not sure the reason for that question, but let me address it. So the acceptance rate for UIC, I believe, the last I checked overall as a university is somewhere around 80%. And that does not mean that UIC is not a selective institution. So there are some institutions whose prestige is based on the number of students they reject. You'll see that Ivy League institutions often pride themselves on admitting 2 to 5% of applicants, and that makes it somehow more rigorous to get into the institution. That's true for the top universities, but as a public research university that provides a quality education for students and is still one of the best universities in the United States, what we really pride ourselves on is finding students who are the right fit for UIC and getting those students to apply. We want students that want to be in Chicago. They want to use the experiences of Chicago and the resources that it has to provide, as well as the academic opportunities. I don't speak Portuguese, but I could just feel from Diogo's business discussion exactly what he was talking about in terms of what business as a college offers students, whether it's business scholars or some of the other programs that are available. Those are the students we want. So it's more about finding the right students to apply for UIC than it is what the overall acceptance rate is. We have a couple questions related to scholarships, so I'm going to answer them all just right now. The average cost of tuition. So 1 year's average cost of tuition at UIC is approximately $31,000 US. Tuition and fees vary year to year, and fees do change from year to year. Students who pay for this year now can lock in tuition for 4 years. That is the same over the course of their study. But fees such as the library access fee or the student-to-student fee or the public transportation fee, those can change any given year. Scholarships are available for international students. If you're currently a student who has an offer or are applying for this coming fall 2021, we do still have scholarships available. Students need to make a decision and confirm for UIC by April 30th in order to obtain that scholarship. And that those scholarships do range depending on a student's academic background, but they're offered up through $10,000 per year. So we do have matching scholarships available through $10,000 per year for 4 years of study. So there are scholarships available through the UIC Global Program. You can reach out to your counselor at Diogo, I pronounced this correctly, Daci Propofora. Did I say it right?
Daqui para fora.
Thank you. So you can reach out to your counselor and for more additional details, but you would need to confirm by April the 30th for that. Diogo, there's a question for you in Portuguese. You can either respond in Portuguese or in English, whichever is easier for you.
I think I'm going to answer in Portuguese.
Okay.
Fazer amizade online é de boa, porque durante as aulas você acaba tendo muito contato com as pessoas em relação a trabalho, essas coisas, muito trabalhos em grupo, aí você acaba fazendo chamada no Zoom, tá sempre mandando mensagem perguntando de tarefa, aí você acaba fazendo amizade, sabe? Em questão de adaptação, eu acho que foi como de todo mundo que começou a estudar online esse ano passado, no caso. Porque acostumar a estudar pelo computador não é muito fácil, né? Mas, como qualquer outra escola aqui no Brasil está fazendo, na verdade, a UIC oferece muito mais recurso, né? Mas, foi de boa. É só seguir tudo certinho, meio confuso às vezes em relação a onde entrar, porque tem muitos sites, mas você acaba se acostumando. I guess that's it, Marshall.
Okay, cool. One thing I'm adding in the chat right now, I see that Diogo has added his Instagram. Do reach out to him, obviously, if you have questions as a student. I'm also adding the UIC Global Instagram in the chat so that students can find their way to that as well. There's a question around housing. So that's a great question. Could you please confirm if there are on-campus dorms and until which semester students are allowed to live in them? That's a great question. So all undergraduate students at UIC have a residency requirement their first year of study. So students in their first year of undergraduate study are required to live on campus if they're under the age of 21. So for the first 2 semesters, you'll be living on campus in housing. For the remainder of your time, you can choose to find an apartment in the city. You can choose to find a different living situation during that time. But residence halls are actually offered to students for all 4 years if they choose to continue to live in the dorms. So we have students who are graduating this year. This is their final year, and they have chosen to still live in the on-campus dorms. But you're not required to after year 1. Our housing options, you can work through once you pay your deposit and you confirm. We have several different options. This upcoming fall, we're going to be offering our option in the academic and residential complex, the ARC, which has a Starbucks in the lobby and is the newest dorm at UIC, as well as JST, which is on South Campus, but also we have a great opportunity for students to live in Taylor Lofts, which is apartment style housing where students don't have to have a meal plan and is the same walk to campus as any other building. And students get their individual bedroom and an individual bathroom. So if you're very focused on hygiene and safety, that could be a very good option for you, where you want to live and experience apartment style living through UIC Global.
Can I add something to that, Marshall?
Yep.
It's very important if you do decide to come to campus that for your first year with UIC Global as a freshman, you are required to live on campus. If you were interested in living with a family member that lives very close to UIC, you would need to get special permission from me in the form of a housing waiver in order to proceed with that. So as you're starting to plan your next semester on campus, your first semester, please note that you should not go look for an apartment with your friend before speaking to UIC Global and your advisor, because you cannot do that in your first year without letting us know.
Yeah, that's super important. But yeah, so students in their first year must live on campus, or they can live in Taylor Lofts, which is our managed apartment housing. It's actually a really great opportunity. It's the same walk. It's like 3 to 5 minutes walk to classes. Any of our residential options, students have the opportunity to be in a classroom in under 5 minutes in the heart of East Campus. So it really is a great opportunity for students. I'm going to turn over the next 2 questions, and Diogo, if you can answer them in English. What's it like to be a student in Chicago? You're not in Chicago yet, but maybe you can say what it's like to be a student at UIC. And what's the best thing about being a business student at UIC?
The best thing about being a student at UIC, I would say, I've been learning a lot of time management because it's a lot of work. Like in order to get my classes done in all A's, you have to do a lot of work. Try to get the extra points because you might need them. It's crazy. And like the best thing about being a business student at UIC, I would say it's more like the amount of opportunities and events they have for business students. And like they shared a lot. There's also great counseling. Like whenever I have a question about a job, or like I receive an email with a job offer or an internship, I can just email it to my group, and they will share their experiences too. I would say it's that.
That's great. And then as far as directly being a student in Chicago, I think, I can't speak for all of our students, but I think what our students enjoy the most is the opportunity to not just make connections on campus, but we often hear about a dinner night out in Chinatown, or students going to a concert, or students being able to go to the Art Institute together, or a classroom experience, or UIC had an event at Wrigley Field to watch Chicago Cubs play the Chicago White Sox in professional baseball. Those are all things that get added to the student experience being a student in Chicago, that are just some of the highlights that I think are important. How is it to adapt to cold temperatures? So Diogo, you haven't had to experience this yet, but Chicago does have all 4 seasons. And so in the winter, it's often 0 Celsius. And in the summer, it's 25, 30, 35, not typically 35 Celsius, generally around 25 to 30. It ranges throughout the year. We experience all 4 seasons. That's one of the great things about Chicago, in my opinion, is that you get to experience snow, the leaves falling in the fall, the spring blossom, and then the summertime in Chicago, where Lake Michigan, one of the 5 Great Lakes, is beachfront all throughout the city. So people are hanging out at the beach, they're walking the trails, they're playing volleyball at the park, things like that. So it really is a great opportunity to experience all 4 seasons. We do make sure that students are prepared for that. We talk about it in our pre-arrival sessions with students. And we also make sure that when students are here, that they've prepared by having winter clothing, sweaters, winter jackets, things of that.
Right. And what you also have to be aware of is that in the wintertime, we don't see a lot of sun. There's not a lot of sun coming. And it's interesting that that can affect you in different ways. So students have done different things like purchasing sun lamps or just being prepared about the fact that in the winter, it does get a little bit gray here, but the spring, summer, fall seasons are so beautiful. You're only really dealing with 2-3 months out of the year.
Yeah. And, you know, for a lot of our students, it's their first time seeing snow. They get to go ice skating, get to experience Chicago at wintertime and Christmas time, and a lot of the festivals and events that go along with that. How is Greek life at UIC? Diogo, I don't know if you've joined any Greek organizations. If not, I can definitely speak to that.
Not yet, no.
Okay. I'll talk a little bit about it. So Greek life at UIC is a little bit different than Greek life at, say, a state flagship university in a college town. There are fraternities and sororities for social, for the social aspect, and there are professional Greek organizations as chapters as well for business students, for honor societies and things like that. In terms of the Greek life in a social aspect, there are different fraternities and sororities that students join. What I will say is that there are no official houses that students live in. So if you're thinking about Greek life in terms of this is the Sigma Chi house, and that's where like my fraternity brothers live, that's not necessarily what you're going to find at UIC. But you may find that sort of camaraderie of Greek brotherhood or sisterhood at UIC in terms of the social aspect of joining that, but it's not going to be the same as in a college town atmosphere. Professionally, we have all the different Greek organizations for helping out, volunteering, professional recognition, things of that nature that students definitely get involved in as well. Is it common for business students to start their own business? It's not uncommon. So I don't think it's like 75 or 80% of students in business start their own business, but it's not something. I know quite a few students who have started on their own entrepreneurial adventures. And UIC actually has some entrepreneurship. It has an entrepreneurship major, but it also has organizations dedicated to entrepreneurial competitions where students can pitch their own business ideas and potentially get funded for it, win the competition and get funded for their business idea, things of that nature. So I don't know if it's 100% common, but it's definitely something that can happen. And then how's the support for students that want to stay in the USA? So that's a great question. Here's what I'll say to that. We do everything at UIC for international students to prepare students for their future goals. We can't overstep the bounds of saying, here's how you stay in the United States forever, because there are immigration guidance on making sure that students plan to study in the US and return. We know that the majority of our students may be looking for opportunities to stay in the United States. What we really do is we look at the opportunity by student. So for example, in talking to a student, is your plan to take this opportunity, make connections with multinational global corporations, and return to Brazil and work for one of those global companies, but because you made that connection in Chicago, or to work at a smaller business, taking that experience of being in a global city like Chicago and go to a smaller company in Brazil? That's a possibility. Is it that you want to stay in the United States? You want to find out how to successfully get an extension of OPT. And then after that, you want to convert to an H-1B and work in the United States. That's your trigger or your driver. we're going to help you look for internships that can set you up for that success, majors that are more common for that, things of that nature. If your goal is to move to another global city, we have students that we talk to and their motivation is to end up in London or in Singapore. A lot of our students are interested in tech. They may come from Asia. Their goal isn't necessarily return to their home country, but to move to Singapore, which is just as up and coming and hot in the tech field as the Bay Area and San Francisco. So whatever your personal motivators are, we'll help set you up with the career advice and guidance to drive that, whether that's staying in the United States or not, and how to navigate that. But one of the great services that our Office of International Services provides students during International Career Week is the OPT workshop. Because one of the things that they do during OPT workshop is they talk to students about employers that are very favorable to OPT applications or optional practical training applications. They want to hire students who want to stay and work on their visa, potentially become a student of somebody who works for them full-time, obtains the H-1B visa, and continues on. So whatever that happens to be. What's a typical weekend like at UIC? A typical weekend. So I will give you an example of a student that I was talking to recently about his typical weekend. So it started on, a Friday night with dinner with friends. And then on Saturday, a few of those friends rented a car and they took a day trip out of the city and made an adventure to a suburb located near Chicago. And then on Sunday, it was studying and hitting the books, just like I think Diogo probably is doing as a virtual student. Sundays are for study. That's how I was when I was a college student. A typical weekend for some students might include going out with friends or experiencing shopping in the city, going to some event. Right now we have the immersive Van Gogh experience, which is Vincent Van Gogh lit up in an interactive sort of mural display that's really popular going on in Chicago right now.
I can say that a lot of my friends there, during the weekend, they go just to the city to take pictures, or like to the river that crosses Chicago. Most people don't know that. I didn't know that before, but you can take pictures down there, or like during St. Patrick's Day that they color the river green. That's what my friends do during the weekend, at least.
Yeah, so that's a great example. So during St. Patrick's Day, which is an Irish celebration and festival, Chicago's known for dyeing the river green. So it goes from that bluish color to green, and that's great. Students definitely do that. They go and they visit that. That's one of the coolest activities in the city during the year. How would you describe, Diogo, how would you describe the relationship between students and professors? Like, do you feel like you can contact your professors?
Yeah, like for example, in math, my professor would like email me asking like how I was doing, if I needed any help with any content that he was teaching us. I would say they get very personal. Like, the professors help you a lot on a personal level too. Like, you can talk to them, you can stay after hours or after class, just talk a little bit. It's pretty cool. Like, I have a good relationship with my professors, at least.
That's great. And I know that for the most part, our faculty really does strive to have that relationship with students at any level, undergraduate, graduate, professional. So that's really great to hear. There's a question about UIC's medical school. And so the medical school at UIC is actually one of the largest in the Midwest. It's the largest in the state of Illinois. Students don't apply to the medical school as an undergraduate student, as is typical in some other countries. But it is prominently ranked. It has the largest number of students, and it's located in the medical district. So the Illinois Medical District comprises University of Illinois Health UI Medical School, which is for UIC, Rush University, which is a health professions only university that focuses on Doctor of Medicine degrees and things of that nature, and the Cook County, which is the province or county that Chicago is located in, public hospital. All three of those make up the Illinois Medical District, which serve a vast majority of Chicago's residents. Our students, even at the undergraduate level, get the opportunity to volunteer at the hospital if you're interested in the pre-health professions or the medical professions. We have students that have volunteered at the hospital. We have students that have interned in different capacities around the health facilities located on our West Campus. So that really is an opportunity for students, even at the undergraduate level, to investigate or discover or explore their future health profession goals. Don't know if there's any other questions. Oh, transportation. Transportation on campus is actually, I'll answer that one. Students have access to Chicago Transit Authority public transit, which is the Chicago city buses around campus, but they also have the opportunity to navigate campus with the UIC shuttle. The UIC bus system goes all the way around campus, picks up at multiple locations, and is free of charge with your student ID. So you get your student ID, you show them, and you're all set. But the other thing I will add there is that most of campus is very walkable. So I see more of our students walking than I ever see them on public transit between classes, because you can go from one class to another in 10 minutes maximum. The goal of every class is to give students a 10-minute buffer so that you can literally walk from one class on one edge of campus to the other edge and be there in 10 minutes. And that is what most of our students do. I see them walking. I don't usually see them taking bus transit, though it is offered for students. And the last question, UIC's food. Well, dining hall food is dining hall food. So any campus experiences eating in a dining hall where you have multiple options per day for food. On campus, we also have different fast casual or fast food options for students that they can use with their meal plan. So besides the dining hall, which offers 3 meals per day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, including hot options, vegan options, options with dietary restrictions, vegetarian options, whatever your options are. You can choose Chick-fil-A, you can choose Panda Express, you can choose Dunkin' Donuts, you can choose from Subway or Moe's, which is a burrito place, or Sbarro, which is pizza. So there's lots of different options around campus for students. And then there's lots of other off-campus dining opportunities as well.
There's also the Starbucks in the dorms.
There is also the Starbucks in the dorms, which I know a lot of students actually work at. So that's also a great professional employment opportunity for students as well. All right. So I want to go ahead and thank everyone. I want to thank Diogo for his insights, because I think that's really important for other students to hear. And I'm really looking forward to Diogo being able to travel to campus so that we can all meet him in person. So hopefully that day is coming soon. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram or to send us questions through your counselor. I want to thank your counselors for setting up tonight's event. Diogo, I want to thank you again, and everyone who attended. And with that, I think we're all set. Are we all set?
Muito obrigado pela presença de todo mundo aí. É um prazer estar aqui com vocês. Eu acho que é isso também.